Hey, everybody. It's good to be back. Here we are, another season, another night, another podcast, Benfica podcast. We got lots to talk about. Whole preseason, ins and outs, the new season coming, the controversies, so on and so forth. We're here. We're back. We'll see you in a bit.
Hasta que no estás aquí dentro no sabes la grandeza de este equipo.
Quero o Benfica intimidar o adversário. Quero o manto sagrado entrar com vocês em qualquer estádio e assustá-los, pá! É isso que eu quero!
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Talking to the Doll Benfica podcast, episode number 530 as we start the new season. I forget how many years we've been on now. It's got to be...
You said last season was season 10, so this got to be 11, right?
Yeah, this got to be either
sure.
11 or 12. I lose track. Let me see something, because I lost you a little bit, Dave. I lost your camera. Camera's off. Dave's here. What's happening, Dave? How you been? There you are.
I'm back. There we go.
Back. How you been, bro? It's been a while.
It's preseason for the podcasters here too. We're working out our microphones, working out our cameras, but good to be back. Another season, and let's hope it's a positive season. I'm seeing a lot of negativity, reading, hearing, a lot of negativity. So let's hope for a positive season this year.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so here we are. Last podcast was the sell, loan, keep episode. How's let us know how the sound is, everybody that's on the chat. And Emelo, Flavio Ferreira, Rafa, Manuel da Cunha, Diogo Reis, Vespa do Eliseu. It's been a while, bro. Miss you guys. Miss being here, talking to you guys. Chris, unfortunately, could not be here today. I don't know when he will be back, but sometime he will be back. He's doing some personal stuff, vacation and whatnot. So Manny Villadon, what's going on, everybody? Thank you very much for joining us as always. It was Dave. We were talking off air, right? And I was saying how bad the Benfica fans have become in terms of how polarized they are, and the thing is that if a guy says yes, there's another guy that's going to say no. So polarized, so divided. I mean, we've seen with the issue with Joao Neves, which we'll get into, Di Maria, Otamendi in the Olympics. It's toxic, man. It's something that you go on X or whatever. Whatever your platform of choice is, and it's just back and forth, and it's just like, really, man? Like, it's bad enough that we're in high politics season here in the U.S. with the election coming up in November, and seeing those two factions warring each other, right? That Benfica has really become a club of polar opposites. So I've tried to stay away on purpose, and I think that usually, Dave, what we usually do is the podcast, we usually come back like the week after the team comes back from vacation, right? So start discussing preseason, start discussing what guys are at camp, the ins and outs, what's going on, the preseason games. But this year, I was just like, I'm just going to wait for the week right before the season so I don't have to be annoyed by the things that I read and the many opinions, which I respect. I respect all of the opinions. The thing that triggers me, Dave, is how polar opposite those opinions are. I don't know, man. What's your offseason been like?
I was hoping the same thing from you, Alfred. There would be weeks that go by, and I was like, Okay, players have reported. Usually we start getting the podcast, but you know what? The Euros were really right on top of that too. So we had to go through that disappointment of the Portuguese national team. For those that followed it closely, so I think we needed a break from the national team, and then right there's Benfica right there to piggyback on the national team, and then like you said, so polarizing, and every day it seemed like if you were reading the newspapers or reading X or wherever you get your news from, it was some sort of controversy in Benfica land. So I'm glad that we waited right up until the kickoff of this weekend coming up here to give us some sort of mental rest here.
Yeah, look, I wrote a bunch of notes here. I didn't write any notes on the games, with the exception of the last one, just because it's preseason. Um, there's not much that you could pull from preseason because of the workouts, the 3 days, the heavy physical sessions. So I kind of tend to reserve my judgment. Obviously, when you see new players, you want to see what they look like on the field, the touch, how they move, how they control the ball, the technique, so on and so forth. I think the first time that I saw Jurassic, I said, "Hmm, I don't know if that's the right guy for the team." But I mean, looking at Pavlidis, for example, that's a player. That's probably the one of the best forwards we've had in quite a bit. But we're going to keep our fingers crossed and hope that everything works out and he stays healthy. There was that one game, Dave, that I don't know if you saw, that he kind of got pushed or something, and he fell over like this wall that leads to the stairs down to the tunnels, and he just fell on his back. I was like, oh no.
I saw that. I think us, you, me, and everyone else were thinking, we finally got this striker. He's scoring a goal a game, and then guy gets body checked into a staircase here and falls and broke his thumb, I believe, or one of his
Yeah,
fingers. And then reports right away are he's out for 4 to 6 weeks with that. But the guy didn't even miss a week,
he had
and
certain.
he's
Yeah,
back with
yeah,
a cast on it.
yeah.
So that was one positive.
They announced that that he had surgery, and then I was like, oh fuck, surgery. He's probably not going to be back for 2-3 weeks. He's like, didn't miss any games, so it was not a big deal. So I was happy, but like, look, tons of things happened, and I got a bunch of um, bullet points here that I want to talk about, but it's all over the place, man. So don't expect any semblance of order. I'll just go in terms of the preseason games. So Benfica played Farense. We won 5-0, and not the result matters, right? Uh, Tied Celta, beat Almeria, tied Brentford, beat Feyenoord in the Eusebio Cup, and thanks Benfica for reinstating the Eusebio Cup. And on a final preseason test, we played Marco Silva's Fulham uh, in the Algarve for the Algarve Cup, and we lost that game. Um, like I said, the results are the least important. But look, there's a couple things here that I want to mention. Right, was surprised to see Rollheiser in the role that he was Rollheiser in the role that he that he was playing, right, as an eighth, almost like a box to box, as like an attacking midfield, pulling the strings. Really liked what he was bringing, and then all of a sudden gets hurt, twisted knee or whatever it was, and he's been out for a few weeks. Another guy that I really liked, that was originally uh, talked about that he was going to go on loan, was Prestiani. And Prestiani, for me, has been the highlight of this preseason. And look, as I mentioned, take the preseason with a grain of salt. Some guys are going to come into camp in a much better shape, more advanced than the other guys, and they might not feel the extra uh, physical work that they're put through, right? But Prestiani has really been a highlight for me in terms of the fight that he has, the creativity, his ability, his courage also when playing a game. Because usually a kid that's 19 years old, which he is a little bit more retracted. He's a little bit more, plays more the safe ball every time because you don't want to make a mistake. And Prestiana has really shown the personality that he has, that fight, chasing defenders down, making plays, taking shots when maybe the easiest ball was to give it to Cabral or Pavlidis at certain situations that I saw. But really, really has been the highlight for me of this preseason. The other thing that I'm enjoying the preseason is the fact that we've gone back to the high press. Um, think about the personnel that we've had now in preseason games. All guys that are able to press high. Unless you have Cabral there, then that's a different story. Pavlidis could press, Bresciani could press, all the other guys could press. So it was almost like a return to that first season of Roger Schmidt. And again, preseason is what it is, but understanding what the team is trying to do from a Gengen high press system, get the ball, go on the counter or the counter press, if you will, and really get the ball back into the opponent's final third. I'm enjoying that so far. Dave, before I get going with some more points here, what are some of your thoughts in the first in this preseason period with what
Yeah,
you saw on the field?
a shout out to Barreiro there in the midfield. I like what I've seen from him, though. That position or that midfield is going to be not that it's a bad thing for us, but there's a lot of players that can play in that position, especially with Renato and Koksu going to be coming in here, and we haven't really seen much from them this preseason. But Barreiro's been getting some run there, and I've liked what I've seen from him, especially coming in on a free. So that's positive. On the negative side, I don't know if you share the same sentiments or if you've seen the same matches as I did, but Moratu has looked questionable and some of these preseason games that I've been seeing, making a lot of questionable decisions, passing the ball without even looking, and it's usually going to the other team. And I know that cost us in a couple of preseason matches, but to Muratu is looked a little bit off here this preseason.
Yeah, I think that my biggest thing that I've always had with Murato is he has times where he kind of his brain shuts off. He's not always connected to the game, and he loses a little bit of focus. And I think at this level, you always have to be plugged into the game. You always have to, even if the ball is on the other side, you have to be plugged into that game. You have to be paying attention, and especially when the ball comes to you, you have to be on. And I think that's a lot of the times that Muratu has faltered has been that lack of focus. Is back passes that where he doesn't check to see where an opponent is, whether it's a safe pass or not. It's sometimes going in for a tackle in a timing that is not going to suit him, that he's going to get beat. So look at the end of the day, if he wants to make a case to start, um, his biggest thing is that he's physical. Um, he's fast too. He's a little misleading when it comes to his speed, but it's just like it's having that consistent focus and concentration where you're not making these mental lapse mistakes for me. And look, he's had plenty of playing time this preseason. Uh, Silva came back, and he still didn't start the past couple games against Feyenoord or against Fulham. Morato got to start, so he's getting his time. I don't know if he's in a shop window or not. I know that in past last season there was some rumors that he was wanted in France and in England, I think. So I don't know, but I think that understanding that um, Otamendi might not be in the 11 in the first couple games, even though he just came back from the Olympics and he's joined the team already. He's not even taking a vacation. And he was also in the Copa America. To be said that he didn't get a lot of playing time, but he did get a lot of playing time at the Olympics. But understanding that there's a window in which Moratu can continue proving himself or can attempt to prove himself, that window is closing down. The biggest thing about Morata is he plays on the left side of of the center back pairing, and he's naturally left footed. I think that's one of the biggest things that he has going for him. Auschnitz, good to see Auschnitz back at left back. Ba came back. Um, Seems to be in good shape. Left back situation with Jan Nicholas Best, the German that we got, seems to have really set up an interesting battle for that left back position. I think that both him and Carreras have put in good displays, especially in the later part of the preseason. Because I think when he joined us, the first game that Nicholas Best played was against I want to say against Feyenoord. Played some minutes against Feyenoord, then he
Mm,
played.
Even before then, he was already getting some minutes. He got some minutes against Almeria and Brentford
Yeah,
as
he
well.
started against Fulham, which is I guess in a way, but then Carreras came in the second half, um, and he played just as well. So I'm happy with that battle because regardless of who gets the position, having two guys to compete for that position is only going to elevate both of them because they know they need to compete and they need to bring their all every single training session and then in a game also. The thing that Nicholas Best also brings is the fact that he could take a lot of free kicks. The German team that we got him from, the German club that we got him from, he was actually playing as a winger, but he says that he could play at left back. But he's hitting free kicks. We saw him score a goal on one of the games. I forget which one it was. Hitting corner kicks also. So it's good to have another guy to take set pieces. As hopefully Di Maria will let him take some. Uh, so, but what else? What else do I have here? The Leandro Barreiro, which Leandro Barreiro was another acquisition. And look, I'm not completely crazy over Barreiro. I know exactly what he's going to bring. He's going to bring hard work. He's going to bring lung. He's going to be able to cover a lot of ground. I think technically going forward, I think he offers a little bit more than Tino does. But seeing him and Tino in the midfield, I don't think that works at all. There was some videos that I saw also in which they're basically in the same line. They're side by side, and they both get beat, and the team got exposed in the back. So I know that probably one of them will get the start, and then we'll see who plays in front of them. Um, yeah, so it's been an interesting preseason, but at the same time, I've been holding judgment because Otamendi joined the team, but he was yet to join. You know, he didn't join the team too long ago. Di Maria just renewed today officially, but we knew that he was going to come back. Kokshu was also out of this team, so there's quite a couple of key pieces or a few key pieces that were missing. So I was like, okay, well, this looks okay now, and I like what they're trying to do with this high press. But once Di Maria and Kokshu and Otamendi come back, this team may have a different look because, as we know, Di Maria is not built to press, and that's okay. That's okay. But there's a lot of there's a lot of things happening that are encouraging. But with these guys returning, we'll see. We'll see how Di Maria um, gets managed this season. And for me, it's not a question of whether or not we signed Di Maria. I think Di Maria has the potential and he has the pedigree, if you will. He's a veteran. He's a player that just represented his national team. He's a guy that's skilled. To me, the problem is never going to be Di Maria. The problem for me is the way he gets managed. He can't be playing 90 minutes every game. The thing is that the biggest thing that I'm a little bit concerned about Di Maria is the fact that you might end up losing Neres because of the Di Maria situation. Because Neres would really like to be the undisputed starter on that right. And I don't think that's going to happen if Di Maria is here. Now, there's a talk had with Di Maria and Neres saying, hey, I'm going to use you guys to the best of my ability. That means splitting time. That means one guy starts, the other guy comes in, so on and so forth. I don't know if Neres is ready for that conversation. I don't think Neres wants to play on a bench. Wants to be on a bench. So I'm a little bit concerned about that situation and what that renewal does with Di Maria. Is it kind of opens the door that Neves is may leave, and there's rumors that Napoli is interested in signing him for 25 million. So, Dave, what's your take on Di Maria's renewal?
Uh, I mean, anytime you're able to bring a player of his quality back into the side, you're happy with it. But I agree, needs to be managed better. I don't know if last season it was more of keeping keeping him in the lineup for his own ego and to play to play him just for his own personal game, because there was times there after the 60th minute he would disappear and was not the same explosive player that we'd hope and we'd seen previously from him. So I hope there was a serious conversation when this renewal happened, that playing time may be a little bit reduced, whether it's at matches at times, or even we can even do baby steps and call it for some earlier substitutions and not leave it to the 90th minute. But
Yeah,
we'll see how that happens this season. But I think even with or without Di Maria coming back, Neres, I feel like was questionable, because this will be his third season with Roger Schmidt, and I don't know. It seems like for everyone else, it looks like the answer is simple, that you start Neres in that one of the wide position there, but he'll start plugging away at Arshness in there, Joao Mario in there. So I don't know if Roger necessarily has that confidence in Neres, and whether Di Maria was coming back or not. I still don't think that was a relationship that has the best intentions between Schmidt and Neres there. Even though on paper, and all of us are thinking, okay, you plug in Neres, and how many podcasts have we had in the past where we've been clamoring for that start there? But Roger, we know how he is and
yeah,
who his favorites are, and it doesn't look like Neres is one of his go-to favorites.
yeah. Let me read a few comments here in the chat and get everybody involved. Manny Villadon says it's gotten toxic and polarizing, especially with the whole group that Juan Rui Costa voted out. Uh, they will bitch at everything that happens. Diogo Reis says has a comment about Joao Neves, which we'll get into in a little bit. Rafa in the lab says Pavlidis was so lucky in Agada. I agree. Diogo Reis Gouveia right back. Look at no, I don't think I saw a couple of good things, but I don't think that's the right spot for Gouveia. Rafa in the lab says it's unfortunate that Rolheiser and Sheldrup have had injuries, because I thought they would shine in this preseason. Rolheiser did. I think that Rolheiser left a good taste in my mouth. Let's see when he comes back. Miss L. Pereira says, "Hey guys, what's your feedback about Persiana's performances?" Hey, Miss L, you just missed it, man. We were just talking about it. I said that for a 19-year-old, in terms of the skill, the technique, the hustle, and the balls as a 19-year-old to do what he does. I think that he, for me, has been um, the highlight of the season. He's also asking, should we keep or sell Kokshu? That's a tricky one, man, because I had high hopes for Kokshu last season. Um, didn't pan out as a lot of us would hope. Yes, there's that aspect of he's playing out of position. Maybe this year he'll play more in the. I don't know. I think that there's some skill there, but um, the thing about Koksu and selling them, it makes sense if you sell Koksu and Neres, and then you don't have to sell Joao Neves, right? It makes sense when you're doing that. Now, when you've already made your sell of the season, which we always have to do, maybe we should try to keep these guys, because it's going to be a long season. Champions League's got a different format. You got the World Cup of the Club World Cup, Dave, at the end of the season that comes up.
Mhm. Yep.
So I think that the squad needs to be deep. But if the right offer comes, I wouldn't I wouldn't turn it down. I think nothing less than 25 million for Kokshu. I think. Diogo Reis management of the locker room full of players who are going to expect playing time will be Roger Schmidt's toughest ordeal this year. It was his toughest ordeal last season, and we saw how he managed that. Um, Michel says we're about to lose Neres, and most probably Joe Mari will be on the starting 11. I think we're all cringing about Joe Mari on the starting 11. Um, yeah, Rafa says the problem last year wasn't Di Maria not pressing. No, it wasn't. That was not the problem. The problem was how he was used. The problem was seeing that Di Maria was gassed out at the 70th minute and he's playing 90 minutes. The problem was Di Maria making a trip cross Atlantic to play for his national team, arriving on Thursday and playing on Saturday. The problem was Di Maria not needing to play a Portuguese Cup game. Um, the problem was Benfica winning 4-0, and in the 70th minute, Di Maria is still on the field. Look, there's plenty of things that we could sit here and rewind the tape on what happened last season. But certainly, I think the biggest problem is not Di Maria, is not his pressing, is not his lack of tracking back. Because if you're a good coach, you find ways to kind of set up for that, to overcompensate for that, or compensate for that. The problem is how he's managed, and he's not going to turn around and say, "Hey, you know what? Why don't you give me the day off tomorrow?" He's going to want to play. Players want to play, man. Players don't like being substituted. And I never subscribe to the ideas like, "Oh, Roger Schmidt got intimidated by Di Maria. That Di Maria said that he doesn't like being pulled out, so he never pulls him out." I don't subscribe to that. Uh, but it's just like, you got to manage them better. Um, Rafa also says the problem was that Rafa, Artur Cabral, and Di Maria, they didn't press, plus Murato left back, and the insistence of João Mario and Tenkstead when they were in terrible form. Yeah, I don't want to talk about last season again, but he basically just summarized it there. Um, Melgashius annoying accent reviews. Hi everyone. Hi Melgashius. All right, Dave. Let's get into the hottest topic of this preseason, which has been the João Neves transfer, which was confirmed a couple days ago. Um, this is where I'm at with this whole João Neves. Number one, I don't think the player forced his exit. I don't think the player told Rui Costa, "I have this offer and I want to go. Gotta let me go." Let me set this up and see if you guys could follow me, right? Benfica did a tremendous investment last season. I mean, you're talking about the money that we spent for Cabral, the money that we spent on Koksu, the money that we spent on Jurassic. Those three, at least those three. It was significant money, right? Now, you make that investment, and over the course of last season, none of these players gained value, right? So when the team is doing well, the team is doing well in Europe, shows themselves well domestically, shows themselves up in Europe. People start looking. People start looking at players that perhaps they never heard of, but now all of a sudden they've gotten into this rhythm of playing well. No player, no player of this Benfica 11 gained value, with the exception of Joao Neves. And Joao Neves gained value. Why? Because he's playing with the big boys, probably Benfica's best player, 19 years old, huge margin of progression and evolution in terms of his playing. So, guess what? Benfica needs to sell. Nobody's knocking on a door to ask how much Cabral is, how much Carreras is, how much Koksu is. What they want is Joao Neves, right? So Rui Costa said himself, it's been a very slow transfer season. It's finally starting to pick up this week. But understanding that you had the investment and you're probably not in very good shape financially, most likely you're not in good shape financially, there's only one offer on the table. And what do? regardless of whether you have the clause at 120 or not, and you said once upon a time nobody's leaving under the clause value, and now PSG comes in, offers you 60 plus 10, and you're considering. So what happens? Do you really have a choice? There's no other offers coming through. You have to make a sell. The only assets that are attractive right now are Joao Neves and Antonio Silva. And Antonio Silva are very inconsistent last stretch of the season. He also had that faux pas in the national team. So whatever guys were looking at Tony Silva from the previous season were following in this season, saw him faltering a little bit in some key moments for Benfica, makes it to the national team, doesn't make an impression there. So guys have gone, they've gone warm. They've gone warm. If they were hot before, they've cooled off on Antonio Silva. Still young. Let him stay in Lisbon another season. See how he develops this season, and then if we have to attack him, we attack. If he ends up being what we projected or what we saw in his first season, then we go for it. So that leaves Joao Neves. Out of everyone on the squad, Joao Neves. So Benfica has one offer on the table, and what do you do when you need to make a sell? You have one offer, you take the offer. And you can make an argument. It's like, well, 60 plus 10, that's a respectable offer. But the thing is that Joao Neves is a lot bigger than just 60 or 70 or even 120 for Benfica fans, right? Young kid, came up through the system, feels the club, talks extremely positive about the club. How many times was he the example last season in terms of effort that was being put out on the field? Mother passed away, was on the field. We got shellacked 5-0 at the Dragão. Who shows up in front of the cameras? Joao Neves, right? Look, there's a sentimental value about Joao Neves from a Benfiquista standpoint, from a romantic standpoint, if you will. If you love the club, you love to see these kids come up, you love to see these kids be the next big name in a world stage, and Joao Neves will be that. So the fact that people are saying, well, he should have gone for the clause, because if he goes for the clause, then you're thinking, all right, well, there's sentimental value, and I'm upset, but fuck, 120 million, it's a lot of money that the club can do with. But now when it's 60 million and that's all you talk about, now people start getting a little ruffled in terms of, the offers that we're willing to accept. But guys, understand this: there's no other offers from anyone on the table but PSG. So I think that at one point there was talks about Manchester United, but those are the things that agents do just to kind of spike the waters. But there was the only offer. And the fact that all the investment that we had last year in terms of the players that we brought in did nothing for the team. Poor Champions League campaign, bad Europa League campaign, inconsistent domestically. Really, the team didn't raise their value. So there's nothing you could do. There's only one offer, and it's for Joao Neves. And what are you gonna do? You can't turn your back on it. So that's how I feel. I don't think that, as I mentioned, the player forced his exit. I think that Benfica didn't really go about it the right way, because at some point, regardless of whether you just renewed with the kid or not, and I think we renewed halfway through the season or not, at the end of the season, you better his salary, man. From what I read, he was making 16 times less what our best paid player makes, which is Di Maria, right? Understanding the importance and the role that he's had on this team, and understanding that you kind of want to keep his eyes in Lisbon, not look around and say, okay, what else is out there? Do you make him one of the best paid players on the squad. Understanding that the most he's going to stay is for another season. But at least you're paying him to the point that he said, even though I have this offer from PSG, Benfica just raised my salary. I'm going to stay here because this is the club that I love. This is where I grew up. I'm going to stay here. No, Benfica never did anything in terms of bringing Joao Neves up to the value or up to the pay scale that the kid warranted. And I think that's one thing that goes against Rui Costa and Benfica in terms of this whole Joao Neves thing. But I think that at the end of the day, if you need to make money to balance your books and there's only one offer on the table, for me, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. And it's
Yeah, sorry, just to
Go ahead,
jump in here. Sorry, and Alfredo. I
Yeah, go
know
ahead.
you were just talking about raising his salary, but then that doesn't solve the issue about balancing his books, because I've been reading about
No,
offering the salary that we offered to Di Maria for João Neves for one more season. But then again, who's going to be our big sell? We're not going to get that 60 million
well,
sell, right? So that doesn't really
well, that's the thing,
help in
Dave.
that
The other
yeah.
thing is, and I was talking to Chris this over the weekend when when I went to him, I was hanging out with him at his house. You sell Cabral, you sell Neres, you sell Koksu. All of a sudden, you're in the black, right? Doesn't have to. All of that can
Which still might even happen, right?
it's
There's
not
still
it
lots of
might
time
be
in there.
happen, but now it's
Yeah.
like, well, fuck, you just sold our crown jewel, and now you're divesting on it. Neres, the most unpredictable team aside from the most unpredictable player aside from Rafa when Rafa was on in this team, guy that can beat anyone one-on-one when he's on, right? You're gonna send him away. Kokshu, a guy with tremendous potential, national team player, best player in the Eredivisie, a couple seasons ago, right? And that's who you're gonna sell. What about Cabral? What about Tankstead? Sell Cabral for 5 million. Sell Tankstead for 5 million. Try to get your money like that. But that's my whole take on this Joao Neves. I don't know if you want to add anything to.
No, I'm glad I've heard some rational thoughts from you, Alfredo, because I thought I was the only one uh trying to think this logically, where yes, it's not the 120, and we can have a discussion whether or not Rui Costa should have said that. At the end of the day, those are all sales tactics. Obviously, you're going to ask the highest sell price, and it's part of negotiation, whether you're buying a car, a house, anything. You're going to ask the buyer is going to ask for the lowest price, the seller is going to ask for the highest price, and you're going to meet somewhere in the middle there, right? So it wasn't the 120, but 60 plus objectives is still nothing to
Yeah,
scoff at. That's one of our top
without a doubt.
all time sells, right? So it's not some low amount, and I know a lot of people are saying it's the price that is getting them, but maybe PSG saw that that's our only player of value, and they know where we're at in terms of
Yep.
finances. So why do they have to offer 120, right? And
Yeah.
again, you can have the discussion about George Mendes and that whole saga in terms of how much he's making from these sales, but at the end of the day, the bed's already been made with him, and we're gonna live and die with
Yeah.
George Mendes.
Chris has an
Yep.
interesting theory. Um, Chris, and look, Chris is a guy that's well informed in terms of agents and things like that. And I don't know if this is true or not, but certainly it's something that makes you think, right? Chris feels that ever since George Mendes was able to get us the money that he got us for Felix, which probably we never thought we would get, right? We put that money out there, and it's you can't touch that kind of money. So Cristiano says that we made a deal with George Mendes that if George Mendes got us that money for Felix, that every year he gets to make a deal with a player from our squad. And hence why Joao Neves is in the conversation that we're having right now. So that's Chris's theory, and I believe for as much as you hate agents, right? In a way, they're kind of a necessary evil because they open a lot of doors for you, uh, both getting your players sold as well as bringing players to your team that you probably wouldn't normally be able to touch. So there's a relationship there. So I don't know. The Cristiano that says we made a deal with the devil, and now every off season we have to sell a George Men's player because that's what he wanted. So I don't know how much of that is true, but certainly from an emotional and connecting standpoint, I think 120 million would have been fine. But like you said, 60 plus 10 is nothing to scoff at. Let me read some comments here. Rafa says Koksu 20 plus 5, Artur Cabral 20, Jurasek 18, 53 million altogether. So you spent 53 million, and what kind of return did we get from that? Nothing. Diogo says problem with that, Rafa, is neither of them are men's clients, and that's why we had to sell Neves. Huh? Melgatius says this summer has been very quiet in terms of transfers. No money rolling, or probably something better could come up. Yeah, we're kind of seeing that now. Let me see. I don't want to lose track here. Misael saying I still can't believe that we wasted so much money on Jurasek. It was clear that didn't have enough quality to be part of our squad. Yep, we wondered that all season last season. Del Tasca says the problem for me is that we sell for half price and then get third injured player in now in a row from PSG. Fuck me, man. I was thinking about this, man. It's like we don't. And look, I'm I'm not gonna say that I'm as big of a Renato fan as you're gonna find. I think that Renato has made some questionable decisions throughout his career. Loved them when he was at Benfica. I think he really raised the quality when he was brought on. Am I happy to see him back? I am. If he's healthy, if he's healthy, and let's say he plays 3 quarters of the games of the season, and he's able to contribute well, I'm happy. Now, Draxler, Renat, Renato. It's just it has all the signs that, and I hope not. And I'm gonna knock on wood, right? And I hope not. But fuck, man, it's just we're just setting ourselves up for another bad situation with a PSG player that's had some injury issues that's coming to him that everybody's hype about. Dave, remember us the hype about Draxler, the hype about Bernat. That said, finally we're gonna have a left back. Played 2 games or 3 games all season. Draxler, same thing. And now where are we at with not such? So we're just gonna have to wait and see. Hi Shiku. Um, Melgatius says we have to fill the quotas of PSG injury for the year. Yeah. Um, what else? Diogège, when we have a Neves, SLB has to revamp their transfer philosophy and be able to absorb possibly operating at a loss if that's what it takes to keep them and look to make their money elsewhere. I agree. Um, he also says we could sell our trash for the equivalent of what we sold Neves. Problem is none of them are Mendes products. João Fernandes says 120 mendilhões. Mendes made 6 million on Neves transfer alone. Yep, 10%. Rafa says, do you think that we need a new midfielder now that we sold Joao Neves and Renato is a different type of player? No, not necessarily. I don't think that we need to go to the market. I think you have um, Heiser that could play in that role. I think that Kokshu could play in that role. I think that Renato could play in that role. I think it all depends on how Roger Schmidt sets up the team and how how he assigns responsibilities in terms of the guys that are going to play. Um, yeah, Rafa, I don't like George Mendes at all, but it's sometimes it's a necessary evil. Do you get 125 million for Felix without George Mendes? Probably not. Misael says regarding Koksu, how do you pay 25 million for a player and you don't have a conversation with him about his future role? You can't spend 25 million on a player who isn't comfortable defending playing as an 8. Well, that's the problem, right? The problem that we said that in the challenge that Roger Schmidt was going to have is being able to manage the squad. And I don't think that you managed Kokshu the right way. You didn't manage Di Maria the right way. I mean, and we're talking about Kokshu, right? This is a player that Roger Schmidt is familiar with in terms of where he's played, how he plays, what team he played for. So he didn't even need to go to the scouts to get a big folder from Kokshu. He knew exactly where he was playing. The fact that he deployed him at an 8, and I know that he went after replicating what Enzo brought to this team with Kokshu, and he felt that Kokshu was very very similar, but Kokshu plays a little higher on the field. So I don't know. I think we're in the right path in terms of where Kokshu should play. I don't think he's a guy that's an 8 or even a 6. Um, this summer is starting to look like the Penta summer window. Brian Peters says. Let's see what else. Rafa says, Diogo, I love Koksu. I was just saying the prices of the players. Let's see. Manuel de Cunha. Just hope that Renato can stay fit. He has quality, he's strong and fast enough to give the midfield a good boost. But I feel a lot of times he looks for a way out or just lacks commitment to the game. Yeah, I mean, as I was saying, Manuel, before, that I don't think that Renato's made very good choices in his career. And I think that's kind of, he is where he is today because of a lot of those choices. I don't know the guy personally. I don't have details in terms of his habits, whether he is a guy that looks after himself, whether he's a guy that takes the time to rest his body, to recuperate. You know, we hear these things about Ronaldo is kind of brought this to light, right? And the way people talk about how Ronaldo takes care of his body. And Pep is another example, right? As a professional athlete, you have to be able to take care of your body and to prepare for the game during the off days. And I'm not saying that Renato doesn't, but maybe on his off night, maybe he goes to a club and hangs out with some honeys. I don't know. He's a young kid, right? Um, so I don't know if that's part of it. The fact that maybe off the field he doesn't really take care of himself, or it could just be that the guy he's just prone to injuries too. Regardless of what kind of care they take of themselves, if you're prone to injuries or if you got a problem because of your physiology, because of your morphology, how your body is, then that's what it is. Yogo, I got 4 dogs in the house right now. I got 2 Dalmatians and 2 of the dogs. So the dog that you're hearing in the back is probably the 2 Dalmatians. Sorry for that. Um, what else we have here? Rafa saying like the people on Twitter, but Benfica has 6 million of fans and almost 400,000 sausages, and I don't think that they are so upset. Look, it's been a crazy preseason. Let me see what else I have here on the list. So Dave, ins, just to recap for everybody, if people are keeping track, Leandro Barreiro, Vangelis Pavlidis, John Nicholas Best, Renato Sanches, outs Rafa, Jurasek, Kokubu, Enrique Araújo. I was surprised when I was doing research. I didn't know that Enrique Araújo had gone on a permanent.
A permanent? I thought it was a loan to
No, I
Oroca,
saw it on
right?
Zero, and it looks like that he. Can you check that out real quick?
Yeah, it looks on the one. I know what you're talking about because I had to do a double take too. It looks like it's a permanent sale, but then when you click on it, it still shows as a loan on
Oh,
his
okay.
actual
Okay, good.
page.
Paul Bernardo went to Celtic, so the loan experiment last season, Celtic liked them, so they grabbed them. Joao Neves also is the one that we're talking about. A couple of the things that I have here, and one of the topics that the Benfica Nation decided that we're just going to argue about this to no end was Otamendi going to the Olympics and saying that his priority was the national team. And look, I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem. I have a problem with Trubin going to the Olympics, right? Because when you look at the depth chart and you understand the guys that are below Trubin, whether it's Samu or or the other kid that was injured last year, I'm not confident to have Samu to start and goal for Benfica. Sorry, love the kid, could be a great kid. I just don't think he's got the level to be there. So when Trubin asked, you look at the depth squad and you go, no fucking way. Now let's look at the depth squad at center back and understanding veteran player, right? Chance of a lifetime. Trubin's still young. He could still go to the Olympics, whatever. But for me, is looking at the depth squad and said, okay, well, if Otamendi doesn't report after the Copa America, right? If he doesn't report, what are some of our challenges, right? And when you look at the depth chart, you got Araújo, you got Moratu, you got the other kid that they signed that the name escapes me now. You got Antoni Silva. You got another kid from the B team that could help out in training also. So I don't think Benfica were too concerned in terms of Otamendi choosing to go to the Olympics or asking to go to the Olympics. I don't think Benfica had a problem. The problem with that a lot of Benfiquistas have is Otamendi saying that the national team was his priority. But if you know Otamendi at this point, you know that he's an outspoken person. Last year, he wasn't afraid to, in front of the cameras, shit talk the team. That the team has been doing good. That the team has not done well. That they haven't allowed him to come and speak to the reporters after the games. The captain. So the fact that he just said my priority is the national team, I don't have a problem with that. Zach says that Samu is better than Odysseus. Perhaps.
I think with the market still open, that's one position that I'd like Benfica to go in, not necessarily get a player to overtake Trubin, but some veteran presence there and
Yeah.
maybe give him a little bit of a push.
Position battles are crucial for players' evolution and for players' form, right? Because if you're a guy, I mean, if I'm somebody that's competing with another person and I know that I have to give 3/4 effort and it's going to be enough to beat this person each time, I'm never pushing myself to do better. Now, if you have somebody on your tail, which we have at that left back position, that every day you come in and said, I need to give it my all. I need to be all in because I'm fighting for this position. You're competing. You're competing with the other guy. And as a result, you're just elevating yourself along with the other person. And I think that we need to have, whether it's a young keeper with potential that could challenge Trubin, and I don't know if the other kid that's there, not Samu, the other kid, and the name escapes me now. But the third goalkeeper, who's the third goalkeeper?
Andre Gomes.
Andre Gomes. I don't know if Andre Gomes is that player, but I think that they've a veteran goalkeeper that's going to come and understand that I may not get all the games, but if I come and work and I show myself well, there's a possibility that I'll get time. And then now you put Trubin in check. You put Trubin in check, and now Trubin has to come to work every day and give it 110%. So that's my my whole thing. So this Otamendi for me is really a non-issue for me. If you wanted to go to the Olympics and the depth squad allowed it, sure, why not? It's an opportunity of a lifetime. I mean, how many players can say that they were involved in a game that the VAR validated a goal, went closed, shut the game, finished the game, team went in the locker room, then the team gets called to play, and whatever game time was left, it's just another ridiculous display of people that they don't have no idea what they're doing in football. I don't blame the VAR. I blame the people that are that don't know how to operate that tool. But yeah, non-issue for me. From Otamendi's standpoint. Let me read some comments here. Brian Pierce says, I agree. I think a small group of people that are genuinely upset. Melgisha says, I can see the positives. Benfica Lab is becoming so good that even PSG send their injury players to recover here in Portugal. Diogo Reis says, I've always heard Renato was always injury prone since he was even a junior at Benfica. Yeah, it's possibility. It's a possibility that is just his playing style, and the fact that he's very physical and he's not a guy that turns his back on a challenge. That could be it. Miss L saying, do we need a new goalkeeper to compete with Truben? Yeah, so that's what we were just saying. Otamendi entered a brawl with the French, yeah, and apparently a French UFC fighter has invited him to have a talk with him. Air quotes. What else? Malgesha says Odi Odysseus for 23 million to Newcastle. Smells like financial fair play stuff. Newcastle sold Elliott to Nottingham at the same price. Yeah, look, I think that this time the clubs are getting creative in terms of how they get through the loopholes of the financial fair play. Anyway, I don't know. Let me go through my list. Let's see if I have anything else, Dave. Well, we got Famalicão, right? So the first game of the season is this Sunday, 6 p.m. local. Benfica will go up north to play Famalicão. Last game between the two teams, Famalicão won 2-0. I don't know if you have any type of a record in terms of what Benfica's season openers have been. I don't know if
Ooh, I
we used
don't
to do that
on
once
that
upon a
one.
time.
Yeah. Once upon a time when it was JJ and he had the record,
Yeah.
it was like he would lose every season opener, and then we switched coaches, and I think we're on the back on the positive side on that. But yeah, I know what you're talking about because yeah, it seemed like every JJ season opener was we were dropping points.
Well, I remember us losing last season, the opener at Boa Vista.
That's right.
I was at that game.
That's right. Oh God, that should have been a precursor or a foreshadowing about how the season was gonna end for us. Because though that game we fought hard and we were played I think it was like the whole second half a man short and pushed for the equalizer and then left ourselves and pushed for the go ahead goal and left it wide open there for the guy in the 90 plus to go and score. Famalicão has Chris's neighbor Gil Diaz on their team there.
Oh yeah.
So I know Chris always he's in the squad this season.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to look at what the teams are looking like. As I mentioned, this whole polarizing fighting that's been going on between Benfica fans have really kept me away from being more on top of the game. Diogo Reis wants to hear my ideal 11. All right, I'll give it a shot. Truben, Ba, Silva, Araújo, Best, Barreiro, Foxu, Auschness, Neres, Cristiani, and Pavlidis. think I got everyone. But I mean,
to start on Sunday, right?
yeah, it could be on Sunday or the team that I feel
Going forward,
the
yeah.
strongest, right? I don't think,
Mm-hmm.
as I mentioned, Tino and Barreiro in the midfield don't work. We got to find a way to fit Kokshu in there, and I think that with Di Maria, I don't think Di Maria is ready to start. I would start Neres on the right. You got to continue with Prestiani and Pavlidis also. Pavlidis has been hot during the preseason, but like I said, it is what it is. Um, but yeah, I think that that would be um, that would be my starting 11. But I still have my doubts on how he's going to set that midfield up. Um, but maybe it's Barreiros and Renato Sanches. I think that Auschwitz cannot play fullback. I think that Auschwitz is such a smart player and a great help in terms of figuring out the timings of the pressure. Um, and I think he brings that. He brings that from that left side. On the right side, I think you if Neres is healthy, you got to play Neres. He didn't start against Fulham, so kind of questioned. Thought to myself, is there something going on? Is there a deal on the table, and they're kind of saving him? Um, so I don't know. Yeah, Schmidt did want to loan Prestiani out, but looks like the kid. For me, the kid is, as I mentioned at the top of the podcast, he's been the one standout for me. I was really enjoying Rollheiser also. Pavlidis, I don't want to talk too much about him because if Pavlidis goes down or if he doesn't pan out to be what we hope would be, we're stuck with Cabral and Tankstead. That's not a good situation. But from what I've seen so far, I think that he has what it takes to start for Benfica, and I hope that he stays healthy. But I think to me on the left back, for me is best. I don't think Carreras is there yet. Um, Midfield as a destroyer, it's got to be Barreiros for me, not Tino. I think that Tino puts in a lot of work, but when it comes to going forward or looking for a vertical pass, I don't think he has. I think Barreiros is a little bit more ahead of him when it comes to that. He's not the guy that's going to take people on, but he covers a lot of ground, and he has a little bit more going forward than Tino has. Pavlidis and Cristiani. That's worked well. I've liked what I've seen from those two up front, but it's going to be tricky. Otamendi being starting to going to run into being healthy, being in form. Not that he's had any time off. Came back from the Olympics. I'm assuming they were working out every day. So he's probably won't need too much time to get back into rhythm. But got Kokshu, got Di Maria. So we'll see. We'll see how we manage. First game is on Sunday, as we mentioned, so we'll get to see if he get back in action. So Super Tasa was this past weekend. I don't know if you guys watched that or not. So it was a whole fiasco in itself. But I think it's good because Sporting as the champion didn't really lose any players. Kept or so far is keeping Gyökeres, which was, to me was the best player of the season last season. Porto has come in clearly on a rebuilding year, doesn't have money to spend. The new coach has to get creative with the talent that he has. I thought it was great. I thought it was great that they want that. I thought I never say this. I thought it was great that Porto won that game because in a way it kind of tempers Sporting's. They got their chest out, pounding their chest. They think they're just going to run away with the league. So I think that it's good for Porto to give them a little dose of reality, and then at the same time, it's just like if Porto gets shellacked in this game, understanding all the young players and the changes that have happened, I don't know. This gives them a new, renewed sense of hope that maybe things won't be so bad.
As much as they haven't reinvested in the squad, you can never count them out. That they have that mentality. It seems like at least they've had in the last 10 plus seasons where they might not have it on paper, but they're gonna give it their all. It's gonna be interesting to see with the new coach whether if he's able to carry
Yeah.
that same mentality going forward. But I was with you, Alfredo. It's good to have Sporting knock down a couple of notches because at the end of the day they just showed where their mentality is when it starts going tough for Sporting. They usually tend to fold. So
Yeah.
they played right into their cards again, and it's good to knock them down a little bit here.
Yeah, and the thing with Sporting is that despite despite now losing their best player in the league's best player in Gyökeres, right? So far, right? We don't know what's going to happen from now until the close of the window. They lost a lot of veteran and leadership presence in the locker room, right? Coates is huge. I think that if Coates is in the game on Saturday, I don't think Sporting loses that game, to be honest. But you got a back line filled with young kids, inexperienced kids. The one Belgian kid that they got, he's young. He's talented, but he's young. And young kids are going to make mistakes. So we'll see. We'll see how it pans out. But it's going to be another interesting season for sure. Well, let's hope that Roger Schmidt learned from his mistakes last season and that he's able to correct them. But I was mentioning to you, Dave, that if he gets on a run here and he kind of stabilizes the team and gets the team in a good groove and has a good first month and a half of the season, he's going to get some of that leash back. If he doesn't do good this first month of the season, people are going to be all over him, and he may not make it past December. So we'll see. An election year.
Past December, you're generous saying past December. The way
Yeah.
these Twitter bots have been going at it, I don't think he has that much of a leash to get to December though. I'm looking at the schedule here, so they should have a favorable first month of the season. Famalicão, Casapia, Estrela, and Moreirense. So really not the Giants are towards December's and January schedules here, so give
Right.
him some sort of leeway to get his system set up and organized.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Look, it's an election year that's coming up, and Costa might be pressured to make a move that he wouldn't otherwise make if it was not election year. We'll see. See how it plays out. Look, I hope that it's a lot different than last season. I hope that Roger Schmidt understands that it's not him against the fans. He's got to find ways to pull the fans back in, right? Because last season, towards the end of the season, I mean, there were some scenes where he's trying to argue with fans on the way to the bus. He's talking shit in terms of if you don't want to support, stay home. So he didn't really create a very good relationship between him and the fans last year. So I'm hoping that he's smart enough that understand that he has to pull in some of those fans that jump to the other side, back to his side, and then make the corrections. Last year, I'll be making substitutions at the 75th minute when the team is struggling. Help your team win, man. And a lot of times last year, we saw the team struggling and Roger Schmidt unable to help the team from the bench. So we'll see. Look, it's start a new season. I don't want to be negative. See how it plays out. I'll give him a little bit of leash, and then it's back to Roger Schmidt of old, which look at it and say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. That's what it is. And at that point, the man that made the decision to keep him is the man that's going to be accountable. So as Benfiquistas, we need to hold people accountable. Let me see if I could read some comments here. Zach says Otamendi and Di Maria shouldn't even be here. That money should have just been used to keep Joao Neves this season. Can't believe we got scammed for him. Diogo Reis says we have too many players still. Sporting pull the Toronto Maple Leafs. Zach says there's no way we're this out of cash. Something just doesn't smell right. Yeah. What else? I think that's it. Yeah, Rafa saying, to be honest, Braga's this season looked kind of good. Maybe this time they could get the third place or better. Yeah, you always got to watch out for them. Because there's always the big three, and then you don't. Braga just do their thing. And then all of a sudden they're there. That's it. That's all I got, fellas. It was nice. It was nice being back here, being back with you guys. We'll now resume our weekly podcast every Tuesday night, or usually Wednesdays if there's a game on Tuesday. It's Champions League, but we'll try to be here on Tuesday nights. Thank you very much for being back, for checking us out. Dave, always a pleasure to have you. And that's it. We'll be back next week. We'll recap this Famalicão game and look ahead to Casa Pia, which is Benfica's home opener in the new grass. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for being here, keeping us company, keeping that chat lively. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. See you next week.